Hello dear learners, I am Dr. Dharmendra Bahadur Singh, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, the Bhopal School of Social Sciences. In this module, I would be discussing about an important topic, that is capital gain under Income Tax Act 1961. Number 1, concept of capital gains and basis of charge under section 45(1). Then second topic would be meaning of capital assets under section 2 subsection 14. Then third, meaning of transfer under section 2 subsection 47. Then types of capital assets. Then next topic would be computation of short term capital gain, and finally computation of long term capital gains. So now let us start with the items which are included under the capital gain under section 45. The first point, profit from transfer of capital asset under section 45(1). Second point, insurance claim under section 45(1)(a). Third point, conversion of capital asset into stock in trade under section 45(2). Then fourth, asset transferred to a firm or an AOP under section 45(3). Then fifth point, profit from distribution of capital assets on dissolution of a firm under section 45(4). And then next point, profit arises from compulsory acquisition of capital asset under section 45(5). And then at last, capital gains on repurchase of units of mutual fund under section 45(6). So let us start the first point, capital gain under section 45(1). So now what is capital gain? Any profit or gains arising from transfer of capital assets is known as capital gains and chargeable to tax under the head income tax under section 1961. If you just go through with this definition, you will find that there are two keywords which is used in this definition. The first word is transfer and second word is capital asset. So let us move to these two terms and try to understand what it exactly means for. So let us try to understand the two keywords. First one is capital asset. Capital asset means property of any kind, whether fixed or circulating, movable or immovable, intangible or tangible. For example, land, building, plot, gold, silver, precious metals, jewelry, shares, securities, furniture and machinery, etc. Now, apart from these capital assets, there are certain exceptions which are not considered as a capital asset at all. Number 1, any capital asset is as a stock in trade. Number 2, items belongs to personal effect. Third, agriculture land situated in rural areas. And the fourth, gold bonds, special bonds, deposit bonds issued by central government. Now let us try to understand the second keyword, that is transfer. Transfer includes number 1, sale or exchange of any asset. Second, extinguishment of any rights in an asset. Third, compulsory acquisition of an asset under any law. And fourth, conversion of capital asset into stock in trade. Fifth, right to use immovable property, being a member of cooperative society, company or AOP. Rights of any immovable property on the part performance of contract, maturity or redemption of a zero coupon bonds, sale of assets by the receiver under the orders of court. Next point, conversion of bonds or debentures, transfer of land by a Sikh industrial company. Next point, transfer of assets by a firm to a company. Next point, transfer of asset by a sole proprietor to a company. Next point, transfer in a scheme for lending of securities. And the last, transfer of a capital asset by a member of a recognized stock exchange. So, I hope you all have understood about these two key terms which is often used under the head capital gains. Now, I am going to discuss about the types of capital assets. There are basically two types of capital assets. Number one, short term capital assets, and second, long term capital asset. Now, short term capital assets refers to any asset which is held by an assessee for the period of not more than 36 months before its transfer. While long term capital asset means any kind of asset which is held by an assessee for the period of more than 36 months before its transfer. So, in terms of shares and securities, there is some exceptions of this rule. In case of shares and securities, the holding period by the assessee is taken as 12 months in place of 36 months. As I said, short term capital asset or long term capital asset would be determined on the basis of the period of holding in the previous year. For example, if this is the case of land, building and plot, the period of holding is up to 24 months. That sort of capital asset is known as short term capital asset. If the holding period before its transfer is more than 24 months, then it is considered as a long term capital asset. While in case of silver, precious metals, ornaments, the holding period with assessee is considered, if the holding period is up to 36 months, then the such asset is considered as a short term capital asset, while if the holding period is more than 36 months, then such asset is considered as long term capital asset. While in case of shares, bonds, units and debentures and other securities, again the period of holding is if less than 12 months or up to 12 months, then the asset is considered as a short term capital asset, while if the period is more than 12 months, then the asset is considered as long term capital asset. So, next, depreciable asset. For the depreciable assets, there is no as such rule regarding the holding period. Whatever depreciable asset is just sold during the previous year, that is considered as a short term capital asset. Now, I would be discussing about how we can determine taxable capital gain. So, there is a certain format. First of all, take the gross sale consideration. Out of that gross sale consideration, if you minus transfer expenses by the assessee, the balance which comes, that is known as net sale consideration. Out of this net sale consideration, if you minus cost of assets acquired and cost of improvement which is done after 2001, out of net sale consideration, balance which comes, that is known as short term capital gain. Out of this short term capital, few exemptions are also allowed. Exemption under section 54B, 54D, 54G and 54GA. Once these exemptions are deducted out of short term capital gains, balance which comes, that is known as taxable income from capital gains, or you can say short term taxable capital gain. Now, move to calculation of long term capital gain. To determine the long term capital gain, the process is almost same. Only difference is that on long term capital assets, always indexed cost of acquisition and indexed cost of improvement is also calculated. So, first of all, you just take gross sale consideration, or you can say the value which an assessee received from transfer of long term capital asset, that is known as gross sale consideration. Out of this gross sale consideration, if there is any transfer expenses, you minus out of that gross sale consideration, balance which comes, that is known as net sale consideration. Out of this net sale consideration, if you minus indexed cost of asset acquired and indexed cost of any improvement incurred during previous year, then the balance which comes, that is known as long term capital gain. Out of this gain, again assessee is allowed to claim certain exemptions under section 54, under section 54B, under section 54D, under section 54 EC, under section 54 F, under section 54 G and under section 54 GA. So, after deducting all these deduction according to the eligibility of that assessee out of long term capital gain, the balance which comes, that is known as taxable long term capital gains. As while calculating the taxable long term capital gain, as I said earlier, indexed cost of acquisition and indexed cost of improvement is determined. So, there is a formula regarding calculation of these index value. Indexed value or indexed cost is nothing, just a value which is calculated on the basis of inflation index. Here is a formula. If the transferred asset is acquired before 1/4/2001, then indexed cost of acquisition is equal to original cost or fair market value of asset on 1/4/2001, whichever is more, multiplied by inflation index for the transfer year, the whole divided by inflation index for 2001 and 2. The second, if the transferred asset is acquired on 1/4/2001 or after by the assessee, then indexed cost of acquisition would be determined by the following formula. The formula is cost of acquisition multiplied by inflation index for the transfer year, the entire value divided by inflation index for the year in which asset is acquired. Then third, if the cost of improvement incurred on or after 1/4/2001, then index cost of improvement is calculated on the basis of following formula, that is cost of improvement multiplied by inflation index for the transfer year, the entire value divided by cost inflation index for the year in which improvement of the asset took place. While calculating these index values, one thing always keep in your mind, the improvement cost incurred before 1/4/2001 on any capital asset should be ignored. So, this is end of this module. Now, I will join you once again with a new module. Thank you.